All right, so West Virginia announced something yesterday that was very curious to me. They have announced what they're calling a resolution. It's an athletics resolution as a time of profound change. This comes from the release in college athletics. West Virginia University Board of Governors voted unanimously for resolution in support of West Virginia athletics, calling for the development of a financial plan that positions the university in the top funding tier among Big 12 institutions while simultaneously strengthening the university's paramount core academic mission. Now, the interesting part about this is that West Virginia has, as they say, 210 plus Mountaineer alumni around the world. They said that they want to connect those Mountaineers to the university they know and love. They want to, as they say, we look forward to a trajectory of continued success for our student athletes as our Board of Governors, university administration, committed alumni, and corporate partners rally together to build its future, unquote. Now, I understand why West Virginia has aspirations of doing this because, simply put, college football, college sports in general, it's an arms race. There's just zero doubt about it. If you have the money, guess what? More often than not, you're going to win. And that's been the way of college sports for literally decades, essentially since the inception of intercollegiate athletics. Teams that have programs that have money, think of the Ohio States, the Michigans, the Alabamas, the Georgias. They routinely win at the highest levels. And the Big 12, while they may not have the highest funded athletics departments or programs out there, they got some heavy hitters. And the good news is, if you're a Cougar fan, BYU is one of them. West Virginia is aspiring and putting out this resolution to essentially find its way into the tier that BYU, Texas Tech, I would say a program like Kansas, with the money that they just had, that one booster invested, David Booth, I think it was $300 million. That's the type of funding that West Virginia aspires to have coming into its coffers. The nice part is, if you're looking at it, with 210,000 alumni, that's a decent number of alumni, both nation and worldwide, for West Virginia to call upon. Well, I did a quick Google search because I had seen recently that BYU's alumni base was pretty large. And this may not be the actual number that I remember seeing, but as of 2024, BYU's total living alumni numbered 449,197. That comes from byu.edu. So nearly 450,000 living alumni. And if you add another graduating class here in 2025, the thought process is that probably is already past 450,000 people. That is more than double in terms of the alumni base that BYU has versus West Virginia. And oh, by the way, BYU has I call it a small army of highly, as a former athletic director told me once, blessed individuals financially that want nothing more to invest their money into BYU athletics, and in particular programs like BYU football and BYU basketball, because they see that as advancing the mission of the university and thereby advancing the mission of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. West Virginia absolutely should aspire and should absolutely chase a chance to be, as they say, a top-tier funded institution in the Big 12. The good news is BYU's already there, and they did it in many respects without having to really hit the pavement, put out a public call like West Virginia had to do. They have alumni, speaking of BYU, who want nothing more than to essentially pay it on and pay it back to the university that gave them their start. And a lot of them out there are well known. Guys like Ryan Smith, they don't have to look very far to find these, as we hear, individuals who've got very deep pockets and been willing to turn around and invest in BYU, and more importantly, in BYU athletics. That's an absolute blessing that BYU has. The university itself has shown a willingness after years of essentially kind of eschewing this and pushing it away because it was under the table. Now that it's above table, NIL's in the mix. You have transfer portal, revenue sharing. Well, Travis Hansen, who just recently was hired as the new associate AD for NIL and revenue share, he essentially is running BYU's athletics financial arm as if he were a front office executive at a professional sports franchise. He is trying to find the money and distribute it and make sure that BYU athletics remains as one of the top funded institutions in the Big 12. So while I understand West Virginia's aspirations of doing this, the nice part is BYU is already there. And with a little extra work, and I'm not saying that BYU hasn't done work, because trust me, I know some of the people behind the scenes, guys like Robbie Bosco, Lee Johnson, Chad Lewis, even to a level, have been instrumental in helping BYU fundraise since they essentially got the invite to the Big 12, and more importantly, since entering the Big 12 conference, to make sure that BYU's financial coffers for BYU athletics are as absolutely stocked as they possibly can be. BYU is also making more money from their media rights deals than they ever have before. So it is a very, very good time to be in BYU athletics. And Kalani Sitake acknowledged it yesterday. He said that the travel budget to go to East Carolina this week is a whole lot more robust than it was last time they went out there in 2017 and ultimately lost to East Carolina. Will that ultimately make a difference in them winning or losing this football game? TBD. But as I mentioned, money, it speaks. It talks really, really loudly in this day and age of college sports. You don't need to look any further than what guys like Cody Campbell, who is I think he's the chair of the Board of Regents for Texas Tech University and a billionaire multiple times over. He's invested and built multiple billion-dollar oil and gas companies, and all he's done is reinvest that money and send large chunks of it to his alma mater at Texas Tech. So Texas Tech, they're flush with cash. I think what David Booth offered to Kansas, that's going to have them sitting pretty for quite a while, because $300 million, that's a nice chunk of change to have. But while BYU obviously is not going to go out there and crow about, hey, this person put in this massive amount of money and this person over here put this other massive amount of money, we have heard that dozens upon dozens, and I've heard it on very good authority from multiple people, that BYU can make phone calls to get the money or monies that they need without making many phone calls, because there's a lot of people, as I mentioned, who have got some really, really deep pockets. And as I mentioned before as well, they're very invested in the success of BYU athletics, and they see it as a way, as I mentioned, to further the mission of BYU as a university, but also further the mission, the aims of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Because as Val Hell and other former athletic directors have mentioned at BYU, when BYU athletics wins at a high level, people are more interested in the church as a result. There's just a correlation across the board that when BYU athletics is winning and winning at an extremely high level, people are more willing to listen to the missionaries out there in the mission field, especially stateside. Don't ask me to show you the numbers, because I'm going off what people are telling me, but these are people who I trust that have seen the numbers and understand that the correlation absolutely matches up. So good on you, West Virginia. I wish you the absolute best in going about building that fundraising arm, and hopefully you do enter the top tier of fundraising and being a fully funded or a top tier funded athletic department at the Big 12 level. Just hope the BYU stays well ahead of you. That's my personal opinion, because I like watching winning football, winning basketball, and really winning everything in between. That's what BYU is doing right now. And we'll talk a little bit more about that momentarily, because as John McBride, who is the associate AD for BYU's sports information department, there are 3 programs that have across their fall sports that have already started playing 1 or fewer losses. BYU is one of them. And the good news is, looks like the good times are set to roll on for cross country, golf, women's soccer, women's basketball, women's volleyball, all the men's sports, basketball, football, everything in between. BYU is flush with cash, from what I understand, and it's coming to bear in the form of wins on whatever playing surface these teams are hitting. And that's a very, very positive sign for BYU's future, as West Virginia tries to essentially play catch up and stay up with the Joneses, or for the first time, BYU might actually be the Joneses versus trying to keep up with them.